The 2012 season has flown past. In its wake, a rookie rose up to claim fishing's biggest prize. And the tour's winningest angler grabbed an unprecedented third title.
My drive is to be #1 at anything and everything that I do.
Plus, one of the superstars of the sport said so long after 35 years.
A dream come true, fish for a living, how can you beat that?
The winners and the legends weigh in. FLW starts now.
Whoa! Rock and roll, partner. That's what we come up here for. Look at that, baby.
This place is one of the funnest places you've ever been in your life.
Put her in the good side. Let's see your two best bass. Two leaders. Yeah, baby. Woo! Here we go, your Forrest Wood Cup champion.
When you come to Texas, you expect things to be big. And right here at Lake Sam Rayburn, boy, did it deliver. Big fish, big drama, and really big names. And the perfect setting for a look back at what has been a phenomenal 2012 season. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Harper. Welcome in. Over the next hour, we're going to talk about the season finale showdown that happened right here at Lake Sam Rayburn. But that's just a small part of what has happened the last half of 2012. I bring in my co-host, Chris Jones. What a year this has been. Let's go back to the Forrest Wood Cup, right in the middle of August, back on Lake Lanier in Atlanta, Georgia. We were there 2 years previous to that. Don't you think everyone, including ourselves, we thought it was going to be almost like a copy and paste from 2 years earlier?
Absolutely, Jason. You know, 2 years ago, everybody was catching big spotted bass real deep, 30 to 60 foot of water, you know, deep brush piles. There's huge populations of spotted bass on Lake Lanier. So going back this year, that was everybody's game plan. They were all bringing out the light line, the finesse rigs, and drop shots. We get there, Jacob Wheeler catches 21 pounds flipping in about a foot of water way up the river. In the second place, you know, Jay Yellis, he catches over 18 pounds on day 2. Both those guys way up the river, way shallow, fishing in stained water. It really wasn't a Lake Lanier tournament. It was a river tournament is what it was.
And everyone was left on day 1 and 2 kind of scratching their heads going, well, this is not what happened. I mean, I had the game plan of what I did here in 2010, and then you had the top 20 and top 10 all sort of wanting to move up into the shallow river.
Exactly, and the guys who had that game plan with 2010, the guys who didn't change it, those guys didn't fish on the weekend. They didn't make the cut.
You talk about shocking the crowd. 21-year-old Jacob Wheeler bringing in a 21-pound bag on day 1, but it's like he never let up. I mean, after 4 days, he never let his guard down. That doesn't happen to a 21-year-old kid on any stage, but when you've got all that pressure, the biggest names in the sport, and the target really is on your back.
What makes a kid run way up the river and flip wood cover, you know, in a foot to 2.5 foot of water? I mean, that's instinctive stuff. You can't teach that stuff. And the kid's so talented. He's got it going on.
Yeah. Well, no question, this is going to be one of those Forrest Wood Cups that people talk about for a long, long time. The poise that Jacob Wheeler showed on day 1, he carried all the way over to Sunday to literally the biggest stage in all of professional bass fishing.
5 worth, 11 pounds, 15 ounces. He got it done, Jacob Wheeler.
Your 2012 Forrest Wood Cup champion, Jacob Wheeler. And we're joined by the rookie, the youngest Forrest Wood Cup champion in history, the one and only Jacob Wheeler. Oh man, here we are, end of the year. Has it set in yet that, I mean, you are the Forrest Wood Cup champion?
You know, it's starting to, but it's going to take a little bit longer. You know, every morning I'd wake up, I have that Forrest Wood Cup right next to my bed.
Do you really?
Oh, heck yeah. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like,
cool.
Oh my gosh, I did. I won
there.
the Forrest Wood Cup. It's still there. You know, it's an unbelievable tournament, and it's just crazy to think that I just won that thing.
Do you ever go back and watch, or maybe you're just replaying that final crowning moment in your brain, but do you ever go back and watch the show and watch all the confetti fall and look at the lasers and everyone cheering, your family's there? Do you ever go back through those moments?
Oh, of course. You know, I walk in the other day and I walk in and my dad's watching it. He watches it 14 times a day, it seems like. So it's awesome. You know, my family's the biggest support group that I have, and it's just really cool for sure.
Yeah. But it was, I think one of the things that really sticks out in my mind from that tournament is how cool you were on the last 2 days. I mean, you were flipping. I mean, you acted like, you know, like it was nothing. I mean, like you had everything under control. You were really patient. You were talking about what you were doing. I mean, you were executing, and you showed a lot of confidence. Yeah. You really did. When you were flipping, I remember particularly one of those big bites that you had. You just really just kind of flipped it on in the boat. You didn't call for the net. You know, you made a perfect little pitch, set the hook, flipped it right in, and it was just like, you know, it was just like it was natural to you.
You know, after day 2, it was a little grind right there. You know, Jay came back, he had 18 pounds, and you know, that really messes with your head a little bit. And you know, that point, I said, second day after that day, I said, you know, I just gave it to God, and I said, okay, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And when you're supposed to win a tournament, I really feel this. When it's meant to be, you're going to win that tournament. It's just, if things go right, you catch, you know, a crazy 6-pounder here, you know, you do something, you have a crazy bag like I had on day 1. You know, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and it'll happen. So, you know, that gave me enough confidence just to go out and fish and do what I love to do. I mean, I love fishing, you know, and I'm going out there and I was just enjoying making that cast and catching those fish. And it was just like, you know, when I was 6 years old.
And you're with the best 9 other anglers on the planet. I mean, if you want a crazy top 10, stacked top 10 for the championship, for the cup, that's what we had. I mean, look at all Scott and Martin, last year's champion, and Dion Hidden and Luke Clausen and all these past winners.
Yeah, I looked at that. I looked at the field and the top 10, and I was just like, oh my God.
These are some of my heroes.
I mean, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the best fishermen, you know, in the FLW Tour, in that top 10.
They're good.
I mean, it's just like, I mean, I know, I told Thrift, I said, man, I did not want to see you in this top 10, because I said, man, I knew you could come back and catch 25 pounds, you know. It's just, any of those guys were capable of catching a 20-pound bag.
I know you kind of got crazy and got a little stir crazy. You're like, you know what? I'm a fisherman. I haven't fished in about 2 months. I got to get back out there. You come back to Sam Rayburn, last tournament. This is the first tournament you fished since the Cup. He comes out there, finishes in 3rd. I mean, that's a great way to wrap up the year.
It's an awesome way to wrap up the year. Anytime you can get in the top 10 against, you know, these guys out here, it's awesome. And in 3rd place, hey, I'm proud of it. I'm happy for it. And it's a great way to go into 2013.
Rookie season. I mean, this is hard to believe. It's not like you've been doing this 10 years. I mean, this is really your first year on the tour. And so 2013, I think we're going to see more.
I think so, Jason.
I think so. And I think we're actually going to see more of Jacob Wheeler a little bit later on in the show. Jacob, always a pleasure. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Reigning the youngest Forestwood Cup champion in history. Up next, find out why 3-time Angler of the Year David Dudley is never, ever satisfied with anything but winning.
FLW is brought to you by Walmart. Save money, live better. Straight Talk. Cut your cell phone bill in half and feel richer. Ranger Boats. Still building legends one at a time. Evinrude E-Tech. Power, performance, and 300 hours without maintenance. New Snapple Lightly Sweetened Teas. Made from the best stuff on earth. And by the 2012 Chevy Silverado. The most dependable, long-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Every angler out there will tell you, I'd love to win the Forestwood Cup, the money that comes along with that, but I promise you, deep down inside, these anglers want to be the best of the best. And to be the best, you got to win the coveted Angler of the Year title. You look back at the top 10 for 2012, Chris, man, it was incredible. And what's impressive is there's a great mix of young anglers that have only been on the tour a couple of years and veterans.
Absolutely. Cody Meyer, you know, he finished 5th overall. A guy who's been on the tour for 3 years and has done awesome. And you got the legends. I mean, the veterans like Ron Sheffield and Jim Moyna, both those guys, they put a lot of pressure on Porosnik, who finished 2nd, but Dudley, who finished 1st, that guy's, he's fishing on another planet, Jason.
You know, it was around April or May when we had really pretty good drama going with the Angler of the Year race. Well, for a while. And then David steps up and says, you know what, get out of the way. I'd like to win 2 years in a row. Good buddy, Jacob Porosnik. Come on, this is my trophy. 2 years running, 3rd time overall. I think everyone wants to know, including us, how in the world does David Dudley do it? So, let's find out. We're here with David Dudley, Castro Pro, #1 angler in the world in the Arkansas River, here to unlock some secrets of what goes on in this brain of yours. You gonna let us in there?
I might let you in on a little bit, but I'm not going to let you all that goes on in this mind.
That's probably a good thing. All right, let's go.
I
want a challenge. Me and you going head to head in the front of the boat.
This is already,
No rules.
We're done. We're done.
No
No
rules.
holds barred.
No holds barred. So if you want to be crazy and throw up air, you go ahead. Because I'm going to catch every...
Listen, something's wrong with this. Hang on, something's wrong.
Hey, I struggled when I first started fishing too. Dude, your hands are about like a piece of concrete. You wouldn't feel it. You got so much slack, and look at that. He wouldn't even be, look at that.
Listen, give me time, give me time.
I got my target there. If I throw over there and I don't hit it, I am like super mad. A fishing tournament is 8 hours in a day, right? So if you got 8 hours in a day and I had to throw back, oh shoot, hold on, I missed it. Okay, oh, daggone it. You realize I just wasted 10, 15 seconds of my day? You do that, you know, 40, 50 times in a day, that's an hour and a half of your time wasted fishing stupid stuff because of your skill not being able to put it where you want it. I think what's kept me trying to think like a fish is really when I get a bite, I've always said if I get one bite, I should be able to write a one-page report on one bite. You know, there's that much detail in one bite. In fishing, you can still have all the head knowledge you want.
Right.
I can know the game of basketball. I can know the game of football, but that doesn't mean I can go out there and perform it.
You see the accuracy on that drum right there?
Hey, I
mean,
did.
Right beside
Hey,
it.
don't think I didn't see it. You're about 6 inches to the right of the drum. I did notice that, but that's not bad for you know, you.
For what?
I can just have a general crankbait and a spinnerbait and all that. My wife asked me, David, why do you have so many baits? I said the same reason a mechanic has so many tools is because there's a certain purpose for a certain job, and when I'm at that certain moment, I want that certain tool. So yes, wives, if you're watching, it is okay for your husband to buy tons of lures because we're mechanics out on the water. We need lots of lures, lots of lures. Just like y'all need lots of shoes, we need lots of lures. Hey!
No!
Hey! I fear falling into the trap of complacency. That's why I always like to preach, never be satisfied. So my biggest fear for 2013 is saying, hey, I've even got to step it up another level, way and beyond the levels that I'm at now, and just so that doesn't happen. It's dangerous to sit there and let yourself get relaxed for just a little bit. Yeah. It's danger. 2008 season, Angler of the Year. Woo, I'm Angler of the Year. I'm cool, I'm good. I can relax. You know, I can do it. Yeah, 2009, yeah. I don't even know if I could catch a fish. I can't even do what I do because you're all up into squirrels and trying to catch raccoons and squirrels and possums. I think everybody's drive is to win. Yeah. My drive is to be #1 at anything and everything that I do. And if it's not your drive and if you're not there to win, get out the way. It kind of gets underneath my skin when people say, well, it's when it's my time to win, it's my time to win. I hate that. I mean, think about it. If it's your time to win, it's your time to win, but yet, why are some people's time to win a lot more frequent than others? Do you have some control over that? Yes. You can't just sit there and throw your hands up and say, well, today just wasn't my day, so I didn't catch them. Shut up. You know, a typical day is, I love where I live. I live in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I think it's one of the greatest cities in the world. And you know, I do anything from, we have a horse farm, to managing the horses, to doing fishing programs, to doing anything to help the community. We have people that come and play on the ball fields there at the house. So I'm involved a lot with Lynchburg. Oh, shoot.
Whoa, whoa.
Nice.
Whoa. How many do you have, 3?
3. 3 to nothing.
Has anyone ever mistaken you for someone that's an encourager? Has that ever happened? So we finally got to unlock a few things in the brain of yours, which, yeah, is kind of tough, but thanks for letting us ride along nonetheless.
I enjoyed it.
Am I close to your level?
Not even close. You still got a lot more studying to do. Never be satisfied, just remember that.
With the 2012 FLW Tour major season in the books, that left anglers 3 more opportunities, the Opens, to punch their ticket to the 2013 Forest Wood Cup. We packed up Chris, we moved up to the Motor City, Detroit. It's always the battle between the big water of Lake Erie or Lake St. Clair. This time around, though, it really came down to the battle over one little spot.
Yeah, the Bell River Hump, Jason. I mean, that one area had so many schools of smallmouth bass on it, and you had 4 guys, Spencer Sheffield, Shaniki Fukai, Billy McDonald, and eventually your winner, Larry Nixon. They were all watching each other, sharing those fish. You know, there's a lot of pressure in that area, but Larry Nixon, he pulled it off, man.
Boy, he did. In the end, it was experience that won out.
He needs, for the win, 14 pounds and 3 ounces. 5 bass limit for Larry Nixon. Worth 20 pounds, 4 ounces, 84 pounds and 11 ounces of Lake St. Clair bass.
And not only is he a legend in his own mind, he actually is the real deal. The legend, the general, Larry Nixon, now Detroit River champion. This is great sitting here with Larry Nixon. You know, we get a chance to talk with young guys like Jacob Wheeler, and, you know, you got Luke Clausen, all these, but to still be charging, I mean, I know that makes you feel really good. I know it does.
Pretty awesome, you know, to have a big win at 62. I'd kind of resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't going to win another one. When I blew it at Lanier about 3 years ago, I was pretty dejected over that one. And then I had a bad year to start with, missed a cup, and
talk about that.
I wasn't in a good mood, boys. I went home and I was pretty upset.
That's the first time in a long time you missed a championship.
Oh, first time in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, in 30-something years, I've only missed like 3 championships in both bass and FLW. And I get home and it's funny. I park my boat and I'm playing with my tackle, and I thought, what are you doing? You're not going to Lanier. You don't have nothing to do for 2 months.
Oh, so it's like this new little bad. It's like you turned something and you were like, that's it. From now till the end of 2012, you were going to see me like you've never seen me before. And you did. You came out on top, and you had just turned 62. It was, what a great birthday present. But I mean, I remember we were just talking about how big that fish was on the final day, and you fished flawlessly.
I really did. I had a great tournament there. I did lose one really big smallmouth the first day of competition, and I never dreamed that I could come back and win the event after losing that one fish, but you know, I caught 20-something the second day, 20-something the third day, and then caught a giant on day 4 that gave me over 20 pounds to blow him away.
I can't even lift him in the boat.
Yes! I don't know, that fish was only about this long, this thick, and that wide. He had to weigh 5 3/4, you know, he was a monster smallmouth.
A St. Clair stud, look at that thing.
Well, obviously that momentum and that fire took you to Wheeler, which was the next open event. Finish, you know, near the top, finish in the top 10 there. And so at that point, you had to start saying, because I know we were saying it, you know, to go to the Cup next year, which again, you weren't going to let that happen again. You were going to the Cup next year in Shreveport. You got to finish in the top 5 in the point standings. And we started seeing you at the top coming into the Sam Rayburn event. And here we are. Lo and behold, you are the Angler of the Year, the top man on the totem pole at the end of 2012.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. It was a great year. I made good decisions, and you know, I fished the fish. I didn't fish the way I wanted to fish.
Well, it's going to be fun to see you next year, because now you got all these tournaments without the pressure of having to make the Cup. You've already made it. So congratulations to you on the Detroit win. 4th FLW Tour title. Still looking for a Cup victory, but we're not going to think about that right now. Right now, we're in 2012 on a high note. It's always a pleasure. The General, Larry Nixon, joining us right here. One of the best in the world. A second chance for anglers to pile up the points and try to qualify for next year's Forest Wood Cup was when we went to Wheeler Lake in Decatur, Alabama. And Chris, you think about any waterway on the Tennessee River system, hello, National Guard Pro Mark Rose. I mean, he's the first guy that comes to anyone's mind. And you look at the leaderboard after day 1, all the way through day 4, Mark never jumped out of the top spot.
You know, he's barely missed qualifying for this year's Forest Wood Cup by 1 spot. So you know he was going to fish the Opens real aggressively this year. And when it comes to the Tennessee River, he's the #1 guy on the Tennessee River right now. He understands his electronics so well that he locates schools of bass that nobody else can find. And, you know, he's so good at looking at down scans and side scans. He can look at a population of bass, I mean, and know whether they're going to bite or not according to how they're positioned off the bottom.
You see some streaking up every now and then. They're probably hearing the frequency of my trolling motor.
but that's fish streaking up, and that's all fish down on the bottom.
And that's why he's one of the best structure anglers in the game today, Jason. He works hard at it.
Well, we heard him multiple times say he needed some confidence. After a bumpy start back in January of this year, come Sunday, he was feeling pretty good.
5 today, worth 16 pounds, 14 ounces. Your champion is the National Guard Pro Mark Rose of Arkansas.
Day one was a big key at Lake Wheeler. It set the tone for the whole week. I got down to my area. I'm fishing deeper than I think everybody else in the field, and out of 3-4 spots that I had, only one boat was on them. It was on one little spot. Pulled down there, I caught a couple fish right out of the gate, then I switched, started rotating around on my spots, and I wasn't getting a lot of bites. There wasn't a whole lot of fish out there on these areas, but you know, I could get 2 or 3 fish off of each spot, and I just got those bigger bites the day one, and like I said, it just set the tone for the whole week. Well, day two was a little bit more of a grind. Just not wanting to react. I got to my key area where I felt like I had more numbers, didn't get a bite. Went over to my spot where I felt like a little better quality was. As a fisherman, you gotta learn to adjust. And if it takes catching them on a worm, and we'll just throw that big old worm out there and catch them, baby. Wow! Coming into day 3 and 4, I think I've got this thing figured out. I think I've got my areas really honed down. I understand the baits. I know that I'm gonna pull up on these deep spots. I'm gonna throw the Strike King Sexy Spoon out there, get the fish really aggressive, get them in them, you know, when you pull up, they're not in a good feeding mood. I throw the spoon out there, I get them all excited. I back up with several different deep diving crankbaits. I get them all fired up. You know, I can feel it. It's the excitement's there. I've got my Strike King Sexy Spoon, my Strike King football jig, lots of different crankbaits. I know my point of attack, and I feel really confident.
Not only does Mark Rose walk away with the confidence that he certainly needed, but he walks away the title of champion, more money in the bank, and congratulations to him because he becomes the first ever Forrest L. Wood Sportsmanship Community Leader Award winner. This guy does just as much off the water as he does on the water. I don't think it could have happened to a nicer guy.
I agree, Jason. Knowing Mark Rose, that award means more to him than winning any bass fishing tournament.
All right, still to come for us, we're going to sit down with another pretty nice guy who hangs up his rods for the final time and says goodbye. That's still to come. If you're ever looking for big fish in East Texas, well, look no further than Lake Sam Rayburn, where we wrapped up the 2012 season. Hey everybody, welcome back into the show. Coming up, we'll talk about the season finale action that took place right here behind us. But this tournament was also bittersweet, as one of the greats in the sport, George Cochran, decided to hang it all up after 30 years in the sport. And what a career he's had. The only thing harder than getting to the top of your sport is staying there. George Cochran has been one of bass fishing superstars for decades. In fact, if winning a world championship is truly a once-in-a-lifetime achievement, he has enough for 3 lifetimes.
A dream come true, fish for a living. How can you beat that? 35 years.
As a boy, George honed his now legendary patience and accuracy on lakes all over his native Arkansas. As an adult, he worked on the railroad and started a family with wife Debbie. He also started fishing local tournaments.
I started winning quite a few, and then when I won the state championship, and Bill Clinton was the governor in Arkansas, presented me the trophy and a brand new Ranger boat, I said, golly, if I could do this for a living. And that was back when pro tournaments just started.
It gave him all the confidence he needed to try one of those new pro tournaments.
I was so excited I couldn't sleep at night, and because I dreamed about fishing a pro tournament. And I finished 15th in that tournament. I'll never forget it. Entry fee was $150. I won $850. Boy, was I rich.
And as he fished alongside the sport's biggest names, he began to understand that he belonged.
In fishing, it's all up here. Yes, when I started when I was young, all I've read was Larry Nixon, Roland Martin, Bill Dance. I don't think I can fish as good as they can because, you know, they're superstars. But when you get in a boat and you fish with them, I found out my skills were just as good as them, and that gave me the confidence I needed. It really did.
He was proving he could catch big bass, but he still needed to catch a big break so he could devote himself to fishing full time. That break came after a strong showing in an early championship from the two people who would transform his career.
Nine and Forrest Wood said, if you decide to fish pro tournaments next year, we'd be interested in sponsor you. I was so excited I couldn't even go to the bathroom for a week.
The Cochran-Ranger relationship is one of the sport's longest and happiest.
That's why I wear this hat. When I'm buried, it's going to be in my casket.
He won his first Classic in 1987. After that, he was seemingly always in contention.
My whole outlook was to win that World Championship. And when it was time to go to one, I left no knots untied.
He won another Classic in '96, piling up top 10s at seemingly every tour stop. And then, as the new FLW Tour began, he was on board his Ranger from the beginning. In fact, let the record show, George Cochran won the very first FLW sanctioned tournament.
Isn't that a big trophy compared to the Cup?
George Cochran, you are champion!
Yes, the biggest trophy of his career came in 2005, winning the Forrest Wood Cup right in his own backyard of Hot Springs.
George Cochran from Hot Springs, Arkansas.
My goal in life was to win the Cup. After I won the Cup, I really was thinking about retiring at my goal of 62. And anyhow, you know, if I die tomorrow, all I can say is I had a wonderful life.
Including representing the world's biggest retailer, Walmart.
It's been a great honor, and I've also been real proud wearing their jersey with my other sponsors.
He has 60 top 10s, over $2 million in career earnings, and more trophies than he has places to put them. After almost a lifetime on the road, it's time to focus on something else.
I've never had a yard in 30-something years, and now my wife says, now it's time you're going to have to put grass and have a yard. And I said, oh gosh, I think I'm going to go back fishing. I've got 3 grandchildren, and my wife and me have a lot of things we want to do. I'm going to stay busy, but I'm not going to be tournament fishing. Definitely, I'll miss the tournaments, the competition, the high you get when it's time to take off in the morning, especially, you know, my best friend Larry Nixon, because we spent, basically, I've shared the room with him more than I have my wife for 35 years, you know.
Even in retirement, he'll still do a little fishing. But now George Cochran will be sleeping in his own bed. And after a generation away from home, he'll finally have a chance to sit back and watch the grass grow. And we're joined back again by probably an angler that knows George better than anyone now that we've looked at his career, Larry Nixon. We want to know the real George. Surely you got dirt on George Cochran, right?
The real George, I'll tell you, I know him better than anybody. And, you know, there's a lot of things I could think of to talk about my buddy George. But some of the best boo-boos, we were coming back across the bridge at Detroit, St. Clair, you know, and we're going to get on 95 South and go down to where the takeoff is and all this. Well, of course, the traffic's bad, and old buddy George ain't got a clue. I take a left on 95, he goes straight on 75, and he gets way over toward Kalamazoo, and he calls us and he says, "Where did you guys go?" I said, "George, you're about 120 miles the wrong direction." And he says, "Oh my gosh, how did I do this?"
So it sounds like you got a whole file of George boo-boos,
I have got so many that you couldn't put them all on tape.
Everyone is talking about how, you know, you grew up watching George Cochran, but as far as his skills and his, I mean, what was his thing that nobody was better at? But
his forte was to find little pieces of wood that nobody else would spend the time on to catch 3 or 4 bass off of. And he'd fish it left, center, right, spinnerbait, crankbait, worm, jig, and he'd just keep running 4 or 5 pieces of wood for a whole day. And when it was bad, buddy, you better look out. He'd beat you. He'd win.
Yep.
He was awesome
Classic
at shallow water
River
fishing.
He won with what, 10 or 12 pounds? I mean,
Yeah,
nobody can catch anything.
16, I think, won it at Louisville, and then he wins it again in a mud hole up there, you know, another place that nobody else went because it was just an old shallow flat with 10 stumps.
Yep.
And he goes back there and fishes 10 stumps for 3 days and wins. Yep. There was 2 other ones he would have won. I mean, he should have won another 2 big major tournaments that got took away from him by somebody kind of bothered him just a little bit. Hole jumped him. Hole jumped him, that's what I call it. But, you know, he's just the best there's ever been.
And I know he's Gentleman George, but he's so competitive. I mean,
he really is.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've seen that fire.
He don't like getting beat, and I think that's a lot to what really led to retirement was a couple slow years, and shallow water fishing's changing a little bit because of siltation and things like that. There's not as much water to fish way back in them shallow flats as there used to be.
He's going to miss it, don't you think? It's going to drive him crazy.
I really do. I think he's going to miss it. I don't know whether he'll miss it enough to come back and fish with us again or not, because he's pretty much made up his mind. He's ready to stay home and guide a little bit and be with the grandkids and spend a lot of time down at the cabin in South Arkansas. But you know what? I can only do that so long. I'd have to come back out and fish something.
Well, there are so many things.
I still love it too much.
There are so many things you could say to George, but I know this is not the last time you're going to see him. You guys are family, but for this show purposes, any last comment for the one and only George Cochran?
Oh, I wish him the best of luck. Don't call me all the time. I know you're going to get bored and you're going to want to know what's going on and if I'm on any fish, but don't drive me crazy.
That's it. That's it. I mean, that's perfect.
That's awesome, man.
Larry, a pleasure. You're not going anywhere. You do not retire. We're not going to let it happen.
That's right.
We got a million stories, but from all of us at FLW, love you, miss you. We're going to see you at some point at another time. Take care, George.
Love you, cuz.
When I think of what a Bass Pro should be, I think of George Cochran. I hope hopefully someday I can, do everything for the sport that you've done. You've been a great credit to the sport, and I wish you well in your retirement.
There's very few guys on our tour that still kind of I get starstruck by. I can count them on one hand, and George has always been one of those guys.
The best thing about George, he's got a beautiful wife, Debbie, and he's going to get to spend a lot of time with her. And the only thing that I would tell George is you're going to have to be really, really nice to her, because all the time y'all have been married, she's not had to put up with you. You've been gone. You being there every day, you're going to be kind of hard for her to live with. So be nice to that pretty girl.
You know, I rank him right up as one of the finest men, both professionally and as an angler of anyone I've ever known. I put him right up there. There's no one that gathers any more respect other than Forrest Elwood. George Cochran is tops in my book, and he always will be.
The final opportunity for anglers to qualify for next year's Forrest Cup is in East Texas on Lake Sam Rayburn. And just like any television show, the most dramatic show is the season finale. And that's exactly what happened here, Chris. I mean, even though the calendar said it was fall, the lake said, it's summertime.
Absolutely. The top two guys coming into the final day, both catching all their fish really deep, where the other 8 guys were fishing really shallow. So it's neat to see how this tournament played out, because Phil Marks, who's leading by 14 ounces, coming into the final day, he says, I need some nasty weather to catch big fish, and he got it on that last day. And then the other guy, Keith Combs, he's had consistent stringers of 15 and 16 pounds all 3 days. He says, I need sunny bluebird skies, little wind. I'm fishing really deep with a big worm and a jig, fishing really slow. If I can get some calm weather, I'll catch them. Well, that morning, it was really nasty. That afternoon, it was really pretty. So the way it turned out was just phenomenal for Phil Marks to weigh in 32 pounds.
Well, we kept saying, I think there's the possibility of a 20, 25-pound bag out on Sam Rayburn. Phil Marks said, that's nothing. Anyone can do that in their sleep. How about 32 pounds on the final day for Phil Marks?
Your limit today worth 32 pounds and 12 ounces. Your champion is Phil Marks. Wow!
The weather was perfect, and the fish were streaking across the down scan.
That's what I'm catching right there.
Blowing up. I had a giant 8-pounder chasing about a 1-pound shad up in the air.
Yes!
This is the new prototype crankbait we're working on, Strike King. It's called a 10XD. I caught the second, which was the biggest fish.
That's 2.
And then when I caught the third one, I said, well, heck, I got 3 that weighed 20 pounds. And and I literally felt myself relax at that point. And then I reminded myself, dude, you need 2 more, and you can catch them right here. So I just kind of refocused and fighting through the waves, and water breaking over the bow, and caught the 4th one. And then it got so bad I left for about an hour. The wind calmed down a little bit. I pulled back out there and caught the 5th one. And at that point I'd have to have a 6.5 pounder to cull anything. So I pretty much threw, and I had a pretty good clue I'd probably wrap this deal up.
Let's go eat some boiled eggs, boys. This one's over.
You know, Keith was gonna have to catch 32, 33 pounds, and you know, somebody down, let's have 40, 45. So I felt pretty good about it, and I just stayed close to the weigh-in site after that.
What an exclamation point on the 2012 season. I mean, really, a 32-pound bag. To me, the moral of the story, if you come to Sam Rayburn, if you want to catch big fish,
you better bring big baits.
After the break, a pair of the season's big winners look back at the strategies and surprises of 2012 and what they may mean for 13.
FLW is brought to you by the 2012 Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, long-lasting full-size pickups on the road. Mercury Marine. Keebler, uncommonly made, uncommonly good. New Snapple lightly sweetened teas, made from the best stuff on earth. Plano, America's favorite tackle boxes. And by National Guard, always ready, always there.
Before we put an official period on the 2012 season and turn the page to 2013, well, we got to talk to a couple of guys who've had a great season and, man, an even better year. We got to welcome in EverStart Pro, Randall Tharp. You got the Forcewood Cup champion, Jacob Wheeler. We're going to talk with some experts, and we also have Chris Jones here as well. Guys, when you go back through the season, I mean, this is a great season finale. Sam Rayburn, you both finished in the top 10. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. What are some memorable moments from 2012 for you guys?
Well, you know, obviously for me, Jason, I mean, starting the season with the win and, you know, cracking that century mark for the second year in a row. I mean, that's something I'll never forget. And, you know, I'm looking forward to next year, you know, hopefully doing it 3 years in a row.
Yeah, we were all saying what we call it, the Randall Tharp Show to Okeechobee. I mean, that was insane what you did. And we knew kicking off this season, this is going to be a good year if it's starting like this.
But, you know, starting strong and ending strong. There were some tournaments sandwiched in the middle, not necessarily top 10 tournaments, but you know, Hartwell's a memorable one for me, and the Potomac as well, just because, not because I made a top 10, just because I overcame some stuff and I made good decisions for 3 days, and you know, ended up with a pretty good finish at those events. And for us, you know, as touring level professionals, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Walk us through how this sport's changing because of electronics.
You know, it really is, Chris. I mean, guys like Brent Ayler and Mark Rose, for an example, I mean, those guys have truly taken the technology and taken it to the next level. And I mean, it's just something, fishing keeps evolving. Yep. And I mean, we're all gonna have to get on that bandwagon and get efficient with that, or they're gonna continue to dominate those events. There's no, I mean, it's amazing what those guys have done in such a short period of time with that technology.
Is it because there are bigger populations of bass that stay deeper? I mean, it's always, people have always thought that. But it seems like early tournaments and late tournaments, you know, most pros go to the banks. But that's kind of changing with a few of our guys, man.
I feel like it's definitely, the deep water is definitely the home of the fish. I mean, they live out deep. You know, that's where they go to recoup. And, you know, that's where they're at most of the year. And so for those guys to be out here and we're getting the ability to have down imaging and side scan and really find these fish out there, it's really opening up some game.
Why then aren't more anglers using it?
It's because it takes so much time. I mean, if you go out there and you're graphing all day long, you can literally graph for 3 days and never find that school of fish. Yeah. You know, shallow fish, you can go up there and Randall's really good at dissecting grass, and I've gotten to where I've been able to dissect grass and different things, but shallow is my game. You know, yeah. I love fishing shallow and I can dissect it really quickly. But going out deep, you could go out there and you could find that school of fish and they move just because of weather conditions. Right. And so there can be a little bit more inconsistent, but they also can just dominate a tournament.
Jacob, when you look back at 2012, I mean, obviously, come on, Forcewood Cup. That's got to be the top moment. We know that we've already heard you, you know, kind of talk about what that meant to you, but anything else stick out, or maybe something was surprising you didn't expect? Or
you know, I think looking back at the whole year, you know, this being my rookie year on the FLW Tour, I mean, just how dominant Dudley's going out there every tournament, catching them. I mean, the guy's unreal.
He's a freak.
He really is. I mean, and to watch that beaver show where he's down there and he's jumping in the water just to grab that fish out of that tree, I'm like, Dude, you're the man. He's crazy, but he's the man. He can actually.
Is he the only angler to ever do a chicken dance? I mean, at the Forest.
Well, you know, I think that was.
Come on.
That was like, yeah.
I think that explains it all right there.
I think so.
You know, that's what I love about this sport. I mean, it's, you know, it's competing against guys like that every week, week in and week out, and you know, when you beat them, you've done something.
You know, Jacob, you mentioned Dudley winning at Beaver. He won that with the Alabama rig. Is it surprising that we're here at the end of the year and that has not been the trophy lure that everyone thought would be the miracle drug of 2012? I mean, we've seen it a few, you know, help guys and a little win here and there, but it wasn't what we all maybe thought it was going to be this year.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I was really wrong about it. I really thought it would dominate, you know, 3/4 of our events this year. And, you know, it was a factor at a few. I mean, I weighed some fish in at Beaver and Kentucky Lake on it. But, I mean, those are really the only 2 tournaments I even threw it at all. So I was really wrong about it.
Yeah.
I think the fish just get used to baits. I mean, that's how God made them.
That
I mean,
fast,
they adapt. They adapt.
That fast?
I think they do. I think they adapt to conditions. You can see how baits like, you know, the chatterbait still catches them, but you don't catch them as good. When it first came out in Florida, guys whacked them on it. But then the fish get conditioned to a lure, and then you don't catch them nearly as good on it. I think they get used to the vibrations and how that bait sets up, and they get hooked a couple times on an Alabama rig, and we always practice catch and release, throwing them back. They don't see that Alabama rig again. They'll say, hey, you know what?
Well, and everyone within like a 3-month span, everyone was throwing it all over the country. And so, yeah, that's all the fish saw constantly, and I guess they got beat up by that. Guys, when you look at 2013, anything that you're super excited about? Is it a place we're going? Is it, you know, we got a lot of, look at Jacob, we got a lot of young guns and new guys coming to the tour, and anything that gets you really stoked?
For me, that's what it's about. I mean, this sport is constantly changing and evolving, and guys like Jacob, you know, a good friend of mine, Brandon McMillan's coming to fish the tour. I'm excited about that. But they bring new styles and new techniques to the sport, and that's what makes this an awesome, you know, sport. It's just constantly changing. I mean, I can't go out there and catch them. I mean, some of the veterans, you know, guys like Larry Nixon and, you know, George retired this year. Some of those guys, I mean, even those guys are constantly changing. I mean, they don't fish like they did 20 years ago. They fish like it's 2012, and next year we'll have to fish like it's 2013.
Jacob?
You know, I think the tour schedule is pretty awesome. I really am looking forward to fishing Chickamauga, you know, Beaver again. Beaver's got a lot of fish in it, and it's gotten better every year we've been there. So I'm looking forward to getting back there. Grand Lake's a new lake on the tour schedule, so that one's going to mix a little bit up. I like it because it gives a chance for some of the younger guys to go out there and just fish the lake. And a lot of these older guys, they don't have the information on the lake, and so they got to run out there, and everybody has to go figure them out too. So it's just, I mean, you don't have that previous information, so everybody has to do everything and go out and just figure them out.
I can't wait. All right, guys, we can't thank you enough, man. What a great 2012 season. As we turn the page, way to go, man. Top 10 right here at the end of 2012, Sam Rayburn. Have a great fall, the rest of the holidays, guys. And we're going to kick 2013 off, you know, the way we've never done it before. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it.
Hi, folks. Mark Rose here. I'm going to talk to you about a cool new product out by Plano. As you can see, it's the fall of the year. This is the time of the year that the Alabama rig really dominates. Alabama rig has lots of moving parts. It's got lots of pieces that you have to put together, and it's real time consuming. Plano has made things a lot more efficient for us. You can put multiple Alabama rigs in here. As you can see, I've got 4 of the finesse versions and 2 of the bigger versions already ready to go. You can have them with your baits already on them, like my Strike King caffeine shads, or you can have them in there just where you put baits on them out there on the water. But all I have to do is just take this thing out, tie it on, put my baits on, I'm ready to go. To stow them, all you have to do is slide the head slot in, and they've got dividers in there for all the arms. So, man, it's a really cool new product out by Plano, the Alabama rig box. You guys check them out.
2012 in the books. You know, one thing I know that we don't want to see change for next season is the big name bonanza. I mean, we had superstars on top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, Jason, the best anglers in the sport ruled our tournaments this year. And I can tell you, if 2013 is anything like this season, man, it is must-see TV.
So hard to say goodbye to 2012. Everyone, join us for the ride in 2013. Thanks for joining us today. Take care.
See that extreme accuracy and follow-through? You're just...
Did you see that? That was better.
Oh,
anything you can do, I can do better.
Were you about to sing?
Oh, no.
I didn't, how did that go?
Anything I can do, you can't do better.
Okay.
I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.